Ever feel like you're spinning your wheels, like you're putting in the effort, but not really getting anywhere?
Yeah, I know that feeling.
Like you've got this mental list of someday I'll to kind of things, and that list just keeps getting longer.
Uh-huh.
Well, if that sounds familiar, today we're going to deep dive into a book that for me was like finding a cheat code for actually making those changes happen. Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Right. We're not talking about huge overnight transformations or those bursts of motivation that fizzle out as quickly as they come.
Exactly.
James Clear offers a much more grounded perspective, the power of small habits, those seemingly insignificant actions that, when repeated consistently, create huge, lasting changes in your life.
And that's the magic, isn't it? The core idea of Atomic Habits is that tiny improvements, changes that seem almost invisible day to day, have this compounding effect that'll blow your mind.
Yeah, it's really powerful.
Clear talks about getting just 1% better each day.
It's small, but...
It might not sound like much, but think about it. Over a year, you'll be 37 times better.
That's incredible when you think about it like that.
That's a perspective shift that really forces you to rethink how you approach your goals.
It really does. And what I find so fascinating about Clear's approach is that he breaks this process down into practical laws and strategies that you can actually apply in your daily life.
So in this deep dive, we'll unpack the 4 laws of behavior change that Clear outlines as a clear roadmap to build those good habits you're striving for and, just as important, break the ones that are holding you back.
Right.
We'll dig into the concept of habit stacking, which is a pretty clever technique for layering new habits onto existing ones. And of course, we'll explore that 1% rule and why it's so powerful, along with the crucial difference between focusing solely on goals versus the systems that actually get you there.
I like it.
Our aim is to leave you with some actionable takeaways you can use today. So let's break this down, starting with the foundation. The power of atomic habits.
Okay, sounds good.
As I mentioned earlier, it's not about massive revolutions, but about tiny, consistent evolutions.
Makes sense.
Clear defines an atomic habit as a small action within a larger system. Think of it as the fundamental unit of change, just like an atom is the basic building block of matter.
And what's so insightful is how Clear uses the metaphor of an airplane to illustrate this. Imagine an airplane that deviates just 1 degree from its initial course.
Okay.
At first, that tiny difference in trajectory is almost imperceptible, right?
Right.
But after flying thousands of miles, that minuscule adjustment results in the plane landing in a completely different destination than planned. Our habits work exactly the same way.
Oh, I'll see.
Small daily deviations, whether positive or negative, will ultimately take you to vastly different places in the long run.
I love that airplane image. I think it really drives the point home. To see this in your own life, think about something as common as learning a new language.
Yeah.
The goal of fluency might seem daunting at first.
Yeah, it can be overwhelming.
But what if you focused on learning just 1 new word every day, or 1 short phrase?
Right.
Seems small, almost insignificant.
But it adds up.
It does. If you maintain that small action consistently, that daily effort compounds surprisingly.
Totally.
By the end of the year, you'll have incorporated hundreds of words and phrases into your vocabulary. That's the power of that 1% improvement in action. It's not about a sprint of intense motivation that burns out in a few days, but a marathon of small, sustained actions over time.
And we see this in our own work with this very deep dive, right?
Absolutely.
Maybe our first few episodes weren't perfectly produced or structured, but by committing to researching, recording, and sharing valuable content with you regularly, improving a little each time, well, over time, we end up with a solid archive and a community that's grown with us.
So it's those consistent little habits of prepping, recording, and promoting that make all the difference in the long run. Have you ever thought about your own projects and how that consistency, however small, could transform them?
Absolutely. And to understand how we can cultivate those atomic habits that drive us towards our goals, Clear introduces us to his 4 laws of behavior change. Think of these as a useful framework, a step-by-step guide to design the habits you want to add to your life, and, just as importantly, dismantle those that are holding you back.
Okay.
The first law is make it obvious.
Yeah, make it obvious.
Right.
Or, as I like to call it, the starting signal for the habit. The first step to changing any behavior is becoming aware of its existence.
Right.
We often operate on autopilot, barely paying attention to the cues that trigger our actions. To form a new positive habit, you need to make the cue that activates it as obvious as possible in your environment.
What's fascinating is how Clear encourages you to strategically design your environment so those cues become almost impossible to ignore. For example, if your goal is to read more, instead of just vaguely intending to do so, place a book right next to your bed or in that armchair where you relax after a busy day.
Yeah, make it easy.
If you want to drink more water throughout the day, keep a full bottle visible on your desk or kitchen counter.
That makes sense.
The key is to eliminate friction, any little obstacle between the cue and the desired action. What cues could you make more obvious in your own life to kickstart those habits you want to build?
Totally. And bringing it back to the world of the deep dive, if we want you to discover this space and benefit from the content we're creating, it's not enough to just upload episodes to a platform and hope you stumble upon us by chance.
No way.
We need to make the cue of our podcast obvious to you, promoting new episodes on social media, creating engaging clips that you'll want to share with your friends, collaborating with other content creators to reach new audiences with similar interests.
I like it.
We got to be visible so you know we're here.
Exactly. And that brings us to the second law. Make it attractive. Here, we enter the powerful realm of motivation and desire.
Oh yeah, this is a big one.
Claire explains that the more attractive a habit seems to you, the more likely you are to adopt it and stick with it over time. Our brains are wired to seek pleasure and avoid pain, so the trick is to associate that new habit with something positive, something you genuinely look forward to. And this is where a clever strategy called temptation bundling comes into play.
Ooh, what's that?
The idea is pretty simple, but super effective. Pair an activity you need to do, which might be a little bit of a struggle for you, with an activity you really want to do, something you truly enjoy.
Yeah.
It's like creating a little carrot to make your brain more willing to perform the task that might not be as appealing on its own.
So like bribing yourself a little.
Kind of. A classic example that Clear mentions, and one that's probably crossed your mind as well, is allowing yourself to enjoy your favorite podcast, maybe The Deep Dive, only while you're exercising.
Ah, that makes sense.
This way, you link that activity you might struggle with more, like going to the gym or going for a run, with something you genuinely love and find stimulating, like listening to engaging content. This makes the habit of exercising much more attractive to your brain. What temptations could you bundle in your life to make those less desirable habits a bit more appealing?
And in our case, to keep you hooked on the deep dive and coming back for more, we need to make each episode attractive in itself.
Absolutely.
This means offering you valuable content that you find genuinely helpful or interesting, inviting experts who bring enriching perspectives, and using a dynamic and entertaining style that keeps you engaged.
Keep it exciting.
Exactly. We want you to look forward to our next deep dive.
I like it.
The third law is make it easy.
Okay.
And here, the key is to minimize the friction associated with the habit you want to adopt. The easier it is for you to perform the desired action, the more likely you are to incorporate it into your routine consistently and without it feeling like a huge effort.
Right.
Think about it practically. If your goal is to eat healthier, having fruits and vegetables already washed and cut in your fridge makes it so much easier to opt for a nutritious snack instead of reaching for less healthy processed foods.
Absolutely.
Similarly, if you want to incorporate the habit of daily writing, having a document open on your computer or a notebook and pen always handy on your desk eliminates that initial barrier that sometimes paralyzes us. What small obstacles could you remove from your daily life to facilitate the adoption of those habits you're aiming for?
What's crucial to grasp here is the importance of simplifying that action you want to make automatic. And in the context of a podcast like The Deep Dive, this means making it as easy as possible for you to listen to us wherever and whenever you want.
Yeah, accessibility is key.
Absolutely. Making sure we're on all the popular podcast platforms, creating direct and easy to share links on social media, even considering offering transcripts for those who prefer to read or require greater accessibility.
I like that.
The fewer barriers between you and our content, the easier it is for you to incorporate us into your routine.
Exactly. And now we arrive at the fourth law. Make it satisfying.
Okay.
Clear explains that you're far more likely to repeat a behavior if the experience it gives you is enjoyable or rewarding. That reward acts as positive reinforcement for your brain, signaling that the action is worthwhile and should be repeated in the future.
Right.
It's especially important to focus on immediate satisfaction, especially during the initial stages of forming a new habit. Sometimes those long-term results might feel too distant and abstract to keep us motivated in the present. That's why celebrating those small wins and rewarding yourself for progress, no matter how small, is crucial for maintaining momentum.
Yeah, gotta celebrate those wins.
For example, if you're trying to save money for a specific goal, treat yourself to a small, non-material reward when you reach a certain savings milestone.
Oh, that's a good one.
If you're learning to play a musical instrument, celebrate each song you manage to play correctly from start to finish.
I like it.
That little dose of satisfaction fuels your motivation and keeps you moving forward.
And for us, as creators of the deep dive, making your listening experience satisfying means paying attention to your feedback, appreciating your support and engagement, and building a community around the space where we can share ideas and insights.
Absolutely. Community is so important.
We might even consider including interactive segments or giveaways to reward those who follow us faithfully. A satisfied audience is much more likely to keep coming back and recommend our content to others.
So true. And speaking of making things satisfying, let's talk about a clever and practical technique that Clear mentions. Habit stacking.
Okay, tell me more.
As the name suggests, the idea is to stack a new habit you want to incorporate on top of one that's already firmly established in your daily routine.
Okay.
It's like using an existing habit as a springboard to launch a new one.
I like it.
The formula Clear proposes is very simple and straightforward. After current habit, I will new habit. The key to making this technique work effectively is to identify those habits you already perform automatically, almost without thinking, and then link the new action you want to incorporate to them.
Okay, that makes sense.
A practical example you can apply right away could be, after I make my morning coffee, current habit, I will spend 1 minute practicing mindful breathing, new habit.
Makes sense.
The simple fact that you already have the coffee-making routine automated serves as a natural and effective reminder for the new behavior you want to adopt. What established habits in your routine could you use as an anchor to introduce new actions?
And we could apply this very technique to the process of promoting the deep dive. For instance, after publishing a new episode, current habit, I will share it in 3 relevant social media groups, new habit.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
This way, the task of promotion, which can sometimes feel a bit tedious, becomes a logical and immediate consequence of publishing the episode, increasing the chances of it being done consistently.
We've talked a lot about the importance of those small actions, and that's where the famous 1% rule comes into play.
Okay.
As I mentioned earlier, the main idea is that improving just 1% each day might seem insignificant in the present moment, but over the long term, the impact of these small, consistent improvements is simply exponential.
Yeah, it really adds up.
What's crucial to remember here is that the growth generated through the 1% rule is cumulative. Don't be discouraged if you don't see spectacular results right away.
Right.
It's like planting a tiny seed. At first, you barely see anything. But with time and consistent watering and care, that little seed grows into a strong, flourishing tree.
What a great analogy.
Think about it in terms of improving your physical fitness.
Okay.
Instead of trying to run a marathon without proper preparation, you can start by walking just 10 minutes a day. The following week, you increase the duration to 11 or 12 minutes.
Makes sense.
It's a gradual progression where you don't feel overwhelmed by a drastic change. But over time, it will lead you to achieve much more ambitious goals than you imagined at the beginning. In what area of your life could you start applying that 1% improvement today?
And for us, in the context of the deep dive, the 1% rule translates into focusing on continuously improving every aspect of our work. The audio quality for a smooth listening experience, the script structure for clarity and ease of following, the way we promote each new episode to reach more people who could benefit from it.
Right. Those little things make a difference.
They do. Even though the improvements we implement in each episode might seem small individually, over time they result in significant audience growth and increasingly high-quality content.
Now finally, Clear presents an idea that can represent a major mindset shift for many. The significance of systems over goals. While having clear goals is crucial for setting a direction and knowing where you want to head, it's the systems, those daily processes you implement in your life, that really determine whether you're going to achieve those goals you've set for yourself.
What's particularly insightful is that Clear argues that if you focus solely on the end goal, you run the risk of feeling frustrated or demotivated if you don't see quick results.
Yeah, they can be really discouraging.
But if you concentrate your energy on building a solid system, a well-defined set of habits and routines that consistently take you in the right direction, progress becomes almost inevitable, even if that progress is gradual and sometimes seems imperceptible to you.
Interesting.
A practical example that beautifully illustrates this idea would be the goal of writing a book. You can set a goal of finishing it within a year, but what truly makes the difference between achieving it or not is the system you implement in your daily life. Dedicating 30 minutes every morning to writing, regardless of whether you feel particularly inspired at that moment.
Okay, so it's about building that routine.
Exactly. It's the consistency of the system that ensures continuous progress towards your goal.
And for the deep dive, our goal could be reaching an ever wider and more diverse audience.
Right.
But our system for achieving this goal is based on regularly planning topics that are interesting and relevant to you, thorough and rigorous research, careful recording and editing to deliver the best possible quality, active promotion on different channels so you know we're here, and constant interaction with our listener community.
There's a whole process.
A well-defined system, consistently executed, is the foundation of our long-term success. What systems do you have in place to achieve your own goals? Are they truly aligned with the results you want to achieve?
That's a good question for our listeners to think about.
To wrap up these ideas and make them even more practical and applicable to your daily life, I want to share some additional examples mentioned in the sources we've consulted.
Okay, let's hear them.
One is the idea of creating what's known as a good habit closet.
A good habit closet.
Yeah. It's about designating a specific physical space in your home to store and have readily available all those elements related to the habit you want to build.
Okay, so it's like a visual reminder.
Exactly. For example, if your goal is to read more, having a tidy bookshelf with interesting books near your relaxation spot can act as a powerful cue and constantly remind you of your purpose.
That makes a lot of sense.
Another helpful tip mentioned is the practice of keeping an atomic success journal.
Interesting. Tell me more.
At the end of each day, take a few minutes to write down at least one small action you've taken towards your goals. Seeing your progress in writing, however small it may seem, generates a sense of accomplishment and reinforces your motivation to keep going the next day.
It's a great way to track those small wins.
Exactly. It's a very visual way to make that 1% improvement tangible.
I like it.
The importance of finding an atomic accountability partner is also highlighted.
Okay, so like a buddy system.
Exactly. Sharing your goals and the systems you're implementing with someone who's also looking to improve their own habits can provide invaluable mutual support.
That's so true.
You can celebrate achievements together, offer encouragement during challenging times, and hold each other accountable for progress.
And finally, a very interesting suggestion is to embark on a 30-day atomic challenge.
Ooh, I like that.
Choose a specific atomic habit you want to incorporate into your routine and commit to practicing it consistently for 30 consecutive days.
Okay.
The consistency during this initial period can help you solidify the habit and make it more automatic, laying the foundation for it to stick in the long term. Would you dare to try any of these examples in your own life?
And with that, we reach the end of our deep dive into the fascinating world of atomic habits. We truly hope that all these ideas have been insightful, and above all, that they provide you with practical tools that you can start applying in your daily life.
I hope so too.
Remember that the key, as we've seen throughout this conversation, lies in starting with those small habits, those atomic actions that, with consistency and the application of the laws we've explored, have the potential to transform your life profoundly and lastingly.
Now, we'd love to hear from you. What's that first atomic habit you're going to start building today? What small action are you going to implement in your routine from now on?
Yeah, let us know.
Share it with us in the comments or on our social media using the hashtag Atomic Habits Deep Dive.
We'd love to hear from our listeners.
We'd love to read about your experiences and see how you put into practice what we shared today.
And if this summary has left you wanting to delve even deeper into James Clear's ideas, we highly recommend getting a copy of Atomic Habits. It's a comprehensive and detailed guide that will accompany you step by step on your journey towards building a life full of good habits.
Remember to subscribe to the Deep Dive and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next Deep Dive, where we'll continue to explore strategies and tools for your personal and professional growth together.
And of course, if you have any questions about Atomic Habits or suggestions for future Deep Dives,
We're all ears.
don't hesitate to leave us your comments. We love hearing your thoughts and knowing what you find most interesting.
To wrap up, I want to remind you of a fundamental idea. Big changes always start with small habits. So I encourage you to take that first step today and start building your own atomic legacy, one small, consistent action at a time. The power of transformation is in your hands, and it all begins with a simple atomic habit.
So get out there and make it happen.
That's right.
We believe in you.
We do.